but you probably had some of this in geometry last year. Write equations of circles and graph circles having given properties. So let's start with our definition for a circle. Set of points in the plane that are equidistant from a given point in the plane called the center. Here's your, you can sketch that out on your notes. This is the radius. That's going to be important when we look at the equations, and of course the center point is very important to a circle, and we'll get that from our equation as well. Here's your standard equation now. This is the way you would prefer all the equations to come, and you're going to see it sitting with parentheses, 2 parentheses x minus h squared, y minus k squared equals r squared. The h and the k, remember when you pull those out, you change the sign, and that will give you the center point for the circle. The radius is not the number sitting there, it's actually the square root of that number, and that'll be your radius. And then you're going to be given these, and they're going to ask you to graph, so let's practice that in just a second. Let's see if you can figure out from that equation choices which one has a center of -5, 0 or the radius of 4.
I think it's B.
I think it is B. It is -5, 0. Take the square root of that and you'll get your 4. So that is definitely the answer for that question. Now let's take this problem and let's graph it completely. You will want to use graph paper. You might want to use a compass if it bothers you that your circles don't look like circles. So I'll show you that in just a second. So go grab your center point. The center is at 4, -1. And then while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and figure out my radius. Square root of 25 is 5. If ever you get decimals for the radius, when you go to graph it, just do your best. If it's 2.2, don't go all the way to 2.5. Don't stay at 2. Just go a little bit in between. So we're going to begin at 4, -1. 1, 2, 3, 4, -1. And then from each of the 4 directions that we're going to go, think about it as north, south, east, west. We're going to count out 5 units, and then that'll give us 4 points on the outside for the circle, and we'll do our best to draw the circle. 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you try to draw your circle, and you all know, that's right, it's not very good at that. So she went ahead and grabbed that to do her circle. So there you go. It's very difficult to make a perfect circle, so understandable if you are bothered by that. Okay, last thing I need to talk to you about. They don't give you all your equations in standard form. So what we're going to do is take this format and try to put it back into standard form. It is back to the section where we learned to complete the square. We're actually going to be completing the square twice. Once with the x's and then another time with the y's. But you got to be careful with your algebra here when you do this. So let's go to work on, first of all, organizing the x's together and the y's together. This constant is going to need to be put on the other side as well. So let's do that first. You want to leave a spot here. If you remember when we complete the square, we're going to figure out what number needs to go here to complete that perfect square trinomial. So probably should have skipped some space here. There we go. Just gotta leave a spot for the y's and you gotta leave a spot for the x's. If you guys remember when we completed the square, I was really a pain about this because I wanted you to show your work. Well, you do want to show your work on this. You're going to have scrap work for the x's and the y's. So take the -8, divide it by 2, and then square it. That's the number you want to put here. But I got to show you something. You just added 16 to one side of the equation. You must add 16 to the other side of the equation. Now we're going to go complete the square for this one. So remember, you take this 12, divide by 2, and then square it. Now we got to clean this up. Remember, this is a trinomial. It's supposed to be a perfect square trinomial, so it will factor back into, if you look back at your scrap work, x minus 4. this perfect square trinomial will factor back into y plus 6. Let's see, what's 28 plus 36? Is that right? Yeah. Okay, so you probably do want to put out, after you finish getting into the center point, just put down the center point. And the radius, 8. They may ask you to graph that even after you've done all that. So if they give it to you this format, you want it in standard form, then you're ready to graph it. Let's do one more. First thing, get the x's together, leave a spot. Get the y's together, leave a spot, and bring that -7 over. That constant needs to go back over. Alright, we're ready to go. So take your 4, here's my scrap work, divide by 2, get 2, square it. So I'm going to add 4. Where else do I add 4? On the other side. Let's do that. Take -10, divide it by 2, and then square it. So we're going to add 25. And add 25. So this goes back to, look at my scrap work, plus 2, y minus 5, and this equals 36. Center point, where's it at?
I don't know.
-2.
-2, positive. -2, positive.
And the radius is
6.
That's it.